first of all, why do we got to be coons, man? Can't we just be like crossover Negroes?
Okay.
That's how.
Okay, we will crossover.
I'm just gonna interject that Austin got the "you are not white" slap.
But technically, back on Kurt, she really couldn't blame y'all because y'all had told her anyway, I assume.
Well, it's partly our fault because we moved to Ann Arbor. Like, what did we think was gonna happen?
We're gonna come back to that. All right, I'm writing that down.
Let me just interject real quick because every time he says something, I got something to back it up because I told you this Black consciousness thing here in Brazil is something that's developing so slowly. I mean, and a lot of people think like in terms of Blackness, Brazilians are like 40 years behind. It's like the things that we became accustomed to in the mid to late 60s and the early 70s is really just coming around here now. And a lot of you could come to this country, and I'm talking about, I started coming here in 2000, and you run into a lot of people in the street. I mean, who to me and you, they'll be clearly Black and be just like, no, I'm not Black, I'm Moreno, I'm mulatto, or whatever they might say. And the exact same story that he just broke down with his daughter going away and coming back as this extreme militant, that's exactly what happens here. You know, people are not getting this exposure to what race and Blackness is in the home, particularly in a country that mixes so much. They go away to college, and there's a whole lot of people there who don't look like them because the elites and the true middle classes of Brazil are mostly people with white skin or people who are, we'll say, just close enough, what we call Brazilian white. And they get immersed into these elite circles, and they come to see themselves as other people see them, like, well, you don't really belong here. It's like sometimes it's subtle racism, sometimes it's really blatant, but you're in a circle where you're the only non-white person in the circle, and all of a sudden that's your wake-up moment. So exactly what he said, that's what's going on here. That's why the movement of Black consciousness is being driven so much by younger people these days. It's because they're having this connection because of quotas and having more access to the universities today, and it's slapping them in the face. It's like white society here, even though they hate to admit it, they do not like seeing people who don't look like them in certain circles. So that exact same experience that he just broke down with his daughter is what I see here every day, and people blog about this all the time. It's amazing.
Mark, real quick before we go to T-Real, when did you have your wake-up call? Or did you, what was the age where you think you had your awakening?
You know, I have to piggyback again on something that he said. It's like the white girl phase. We were both working at that famous supermarket that we worked at. You know, you come into contact with people who don't look like you, and you know, okay, this is a different experience, definitely a different experience than what my parents would have had when they were growing up in the South at my same age. But I wasn't, you know, you grew up in an all-Black neighborhood and you hear about racism, but you don't really see it because everybody in your neighborhood looks like you. So when I'm in suburban Detroit, and it's like, okay, this is a nice girl right here. She's white, but this is a nice girl. I think I like this girl, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I just remember talking on the phone to her every night. And then it came to the point where her parents was like, well, we want to meet this guy who you talking to on the phone every night. She did not tell them it was a Negro, right? Dude, I always tell this story. The first time I went over to their house, and for them, the first time they wanted to meet, who's this Marcus guy? Dude, I walked into their house. They're in the living room. You know, it's like, Mom and Dad, this is Marcus. Dude, you remember the look when the Joker fell into that vat of chemicals and he came up with that permanent smile, like, that's exactly how both of her parents were looking. They were frozen. They did not know what to say. It was, I wanted to laugh. It was just, I couldn't believe it. It was like, and then she told me what happened after I left. You know, we had dinner. They were polite and everything, but it was just like, as soon as I left, it was like, you didn't tell us it was a nigger.
Oh, wow.
And her mother was a little softer on it, but her stepfather he was livid. And she was like, what did I do wrong? You always told me that we're all equal. We're all the same. They're no different from us. So, you know, what's wrong with him? I didn't tell you to go out and date one. You know, it was like, that's the first time that really slapped me. It was like when I was with, and then her friends, you know, she went to a predominantly white high school. Again, we're talking about suburban Detroit. And, you know, she would every day, if she wasn't telling me about the stuff her parents were saying, she was telling me stuff about the kids were saying, like, oh, such and such, you got a big black nigga, you know. I'm just like, so if I never heard it in the home, this is just being tossed out into this society. It's not like I'm saying I wasn't prepared, because I knew, but maybe the things that my parents grew up with, where it was just in your face in the South, me being segregated in an all black city, I wasn't necessarily exposed to that until I started hanging out more in the suburbs. And then that's when it really hit me. Like, it's one thing to know that you're black because of your skin color, but it's another thing when you realize that you're black and what that means in society. So that's when, I'm not going to say it's my nigga moment, but it was the moment that it really hit me what it means to be black and how it's seen in this society.
Man, that's good stuff. T-Real, I think that really brings us over to you, because you're the youngest one in this group. Have you had that moment yet? Because I think at the age that, I mean, no shade on you, but for real, at your age, we were just really kind of, like you said, we were coming to grips with it. Has it happened to you? What about the people that you hang out with? Are you beginning to notice a change? Because real quick, you know, one of the guys, one of our beloved friends that passed away, a guy named Robert, we all remember when Robert left Detroit to go out to USC to go to college. And here it is, he leaves Detroit, goes out to LA, and the next thing, he comes back and he was like Malcolm X, you know, Marcus Garvey. I mean, he came in lightning to all of us, because it was similar to what everyone has already said. Once he got out there in that environment, then he knew, now this is really what it means to be black. And that happened to him at 18, 19, and I'll say really, especially in his early 20s, because at the time, we're going back into 1992, you're getting into Rodney King, you get into the LA riots. Man, that's the age you at now. So are you noticing a change in, first, yourself at this age in terms of your blackness? And are you noticing it maybe even with maybe your friends and colleagues?
I've always been very conscious of it, and obviously knowing that there's differences just by the fact that I say especially when I got to 7th grade, which I can't even remember what age that would put me at, maybe 12, somewhere around there. I went to a charter school that was really small, but predominantly white. I mean, it was in my graduating class of 8th grade, it was probably only 7 African Americans. So, you know, that's pretty much all I can see. All I see all around the campus and all of that. So, maybe jokes are more in their favor, obviously. That's just how they interact, or you know, I'm the black guy, so I'm looked at, I better be faster than them. Right. One of the black guys already the fastest guy, so they looking at me like, what you can do, you know? So I've 7th and 8th grade was really when I started to just see the difference in how they viewed me, or how I was supposed to carry myself as well, right? It's like, well, you're supposed to be more of I'm not expected to understand all of the things that we're learning necessarily. So it was more of like, man, like, okay, but we go out and pick in recess though, he's the guy we gonna pick. Like it was solely focused on a lot of your just attributes and all of that, even the way that teachers kind of engaged. And some teachers is a little bit different, you know, to the point where some white kids are like, hey, you seem like you just don't like him. Why don't you like him? And some of them would kind of turn up like, wait a minute. And so I'd say for sure 7th and 8th grade is when I started to I really started to grasp. As far as my friends and peers, I think we are all similar, to where we've just kind of always known. We've always kind of been conscious and aware of it. But especially in work environments as well, especially once you start working, even for a high school job, you start to go ahead and see, even if you're installing like blinds and shutters and more of a richer white area, you just start to understand like kind of the looks are, oh yeah, I mean, you're expected to show up and be doing my work, for you. I'm always watching you. I'm sitting there with, I could go in the room and watch TV instead of watching you change out blinds and shutters for 3 hours, right? But I want to make sure you don't steal anything. So I'm always lurking around and things like that. But it's just something that I came accustomed to. And I'll say this, not that I didn't know it happened, but it was funny a few months ago when I was actually at Publix. I just got out of my car. I still had the wave cap on, or a do-rag on, still tied in the back, flap in the back and everything. And I was like, whatever, I'm just going to the store. And there's this older white couple, and they're walking, and I see her, like she's already linked with her husband. Well, she see me, then she get tighter with them, and then in the purse kind of like tighter, get moved right closer. And then I walk by, and I saw it, but I just walked by. And then I really, because I'm like, man, this is the first time it actually happened to me. Like I saw it, as far as where the purse clutches. I never actually saw, but I knew obviously there were other things that have happened. But that one, I was like, that one's a new one. But I'm like probably 6 feet after passing them, and I look back, and she looks back at the same time, and she's still like this. And I was like,
"You're not coming in."
Yeah, I was just like, wow. I'm like, it is like 1 p.m. I'm not coming out here running. Like, it's not, nighttime. I'm not suspicious, nothing. And it was just crazy to see that. And I was literally laughing. I was just like, man, like this is,
Dude,
there's no difference. And
I got a do-rag story too. That's so funny.
Go ahead.
Well,